I don't want to do one of the, I have a string of things, but I just want to say, first of all, I really like how much character interaction there are during levels. You guys talking to each other really adds something to feeling like it's not just you versus thousands of enemies. The question I have is, we saw some design work early on, and in the Exodus book, the big we saw about the Sentinel Prime, but it's curious to see in the actual game, Zeta Prime.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
Well, I think that speaks to like how fluid this stuff was all happening at that, half-baked state where we're trying to all figure it out. I'll take the burden on that and certainly not put it on the high.
Thank you. I appreciate
that's
that.
Completely Hasbro-led thing. I should take a moment to just talk about the Exodus book because the War For Cybertron game is ongoing. We have a deal with HarperCollins. We were already going to put out some hardback books, and they are kind of from my seat both directed in the same vein. The book is not the book of the game, and the game isn't the playable version of the book. It's really the brand and the story of that brand. And I'll also say for each format, sometimes there's going to be some differences. You're not going to lock it down, to someone's detriment. Early on, I had the feeling that to achieve one side of things, Sentinel should have died before we even maybe got into what Optimus was. That didn't quite work for the team dynamic for different reasons. We came up with this other option, so that there's an inconsistency. Let's think of it as Sentinel's time and move on from there.
Can I add one real quick thing, kind of to talk a little bit about that first comment that you made about people always ask how we write the dialogue for the game, and we really evolved that to be a great process. The way it worked is the level designers building the level, and what they would do is they would say, I'm ready for dialogue. So myself and the cinematics director, Dave Cravens, who is a huge Transformers fan, G.I. Joe fan, we would go over to their station where they work and bring a laptop. And Dave would type away, and we would play the game with the game designer. And I would say, okay, well, we've got to direct you towards that door, or the player needs to know to get into the turret. And Dave would say, all right, well, it's Sideswipe and, Bumblebee, and so blah, 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 blah. And then we would go back and forth, and I would kind of provide my insight on the characters as Dave's. And so it was a very rapid and fluid kind of process.
I know these questions might not be the kind y'all want to answer, but anyway, I'm just going to shoot them off and then you can answer them. Have y'all considered ever putting triple changers like Blitzwing, flesh them out because they might have an interesting story, or are you interested in doing DLC of adding characters from, say, animated to it? Will you plan to do a sequel, and had y'all ever considered calling Optimus Optronic since it's similar?
That's a lot of questions. All right. I'll see if I can remember them all. The DLC strategy, downloadable content strategy, we're working together to come up with what that's going to be and how we continue to support the game. I hope that everyone who picks up the controller can see the love that we put into the game, and so you have to understand that we are completely committed and behind the game. We're just not ready to announce what that strategy would be. What else was in there?
The other animated characters or other characters, is that part of that question?
Oh, okay. So, we adopted a philosophy that I was thrilled that Hasbro and Activision backed me up on, which was, I don't want to put anything in the game that I can't do exceedingly well. And so there are a number of characters that are not in the game, and the reason they're not in the game is because I didn't have the time or the resources to do it justice. So, I said Starscream's my favorite. The other one is my favorite is Grimlock, and he is not in the game. And he's not in the game because I couldn't do it right. I didn't have enough screen time to develop his story, and I didn't have enough mechanics time to develop him the way I wanted to. So, it's better, I believe, to only do what you can really succeed at with a game than, half do a number of things. So that's why there are no triple changers, and mechanically they're different than regular changers, as well as they deserve enough story time Because we tried to deliver not just to the hardest core fans, which is everyone here, but also to the people who have casual passing interest in Transformers. And people have no understanding of Transformers, they just like shooters. And if I overwhelm them with 200 characters, they're just going to get lost in the sea of that. So my personal plan is to sell gajillions of units and make a sequel and start to include more and more elements in the Transformers universe, because there's so many places that we can go.
TAA, thank you for coming today. We've noticed that Bumblebee's vehicle mode has a Tron-like feel to it. Were there any other pop culture influences that influenced the character designs, whether a vehicle or robot?
That's a good question. Bumblebee, you have to remember when we designed that character, Tron was not getting rebooted, right? So I know it's currently, we see a lot of Tron stuff these days. Honestly, that wasn't even at all in our thinking.
What came from the Unreal Engine, right? The glow.
Yeah, well, the glow, Unreal is really great at glows, and we wanted to make sure the characters stood out in single and multiplayer. So the glow component of it is, our take on Energon that's inside of them, and a good way to delineate what's teamed on. Honestly, right, there are no clear color distinctions that I can make other than purple and red between one side or the other. I've got Starscream has blue on it, right? So that was the one kind of thing we could use to delineate friends from foes. And then as far as the physical design of that character, in terms of his vehicle, our philosophy was that, I'll tell you right where it comes from, is Autobots are concept cars from the 50s. If you think about concept cars and the way they designed those in the 50s, like future of tomorrow, today, that's where we took Autobot cars, sleek and aerodynamic, and then of course that character, it's the sexiest VW bug I can make, right? And then on the Decepticon side, those are muscle cars. They're big, heavy, American steel kind of muscle cars, and with giant grills that have sharp spikes on them, right? So that's how we delineated the visual design of those characters.
First off, you guys, I absolutely love the game. You guys have been great reviews, like 9 out of 10, 4 out of 5. You guys definitely deserve it. That's one thing that actually sucks, that you guys, the game came out this week because I've been out of town. I've been wanting to play it online on Xbox in California. I haven't been able to. It's like, but anyway, that's how good it is. I'm playing on it. So anyway, but that's my main question, is that the game is really good, and I'm an avid gamer. I've been playing a lot of third-person shooters, Resident Evil, Resident Evil, Uncharted, and was that a big influence on this game? I noticed a lot of really hardcore third-person shooter aspect as well as the Transformers side.
Yeah, so the question is, what other gaming influences do we have? There's a lot, honestly, and this comes from one of my other philosophies, which is, right, if something's done really well, I don't need to redo that. When we did the control scheme, which is very similar to Gears of War, if you've ever played it.
Yeah.
Gears of War is one of the most popular third-person shooter actions games ever. And one of the reasons it's so good is it has really good controls. I am not going to remake those controls. There's no reason to remake those controls. I got plenty of other stuff to worry about. So I got transformation to worry about. So we grabbed from the best of the best. There are elements of Call of Duty in the multiplayer level up system. There are elements of Gears of War in the shooting and the controls. There are elements of Team Fortress in the class-based system. So honestly, I am not ashamed to say I stole stuff left, right, and center from the best games out there.
Obviously. Woo!
My question is,
It's a fun game.
what was the reason for making the Wii version into Cybertron Adventures, and apparently completely separate and different from the PS3 and Xbox
These for babies.
PC versions?
Maybe we'll double answer that. So I'll start. The engine that we use is called the Unreal Engine. It's been used in lots of games. It's a very powerful engine that does not port to the Wii. So there was no way, we do not have the ability at Hyman Studios to create a Wii SKU. We don't have the skill set.